So today what we're going to do is look at some of the latest questions around the core update. Feel free to chime in if you're watching, and I'm going to present my screen and we'll run through some of the Q&As whilst we're watching for other people to add their questions. So here we go. And we're going to change the old presentation style. There we go. There we go. All right. So some of the latest questions and comments that we got. Number one, Ahrefs traffic data is an estimate. Absolutely, it's an estimate for sure. Like for me, for example, if you see my video earlier today, feel free to check it out. If not, this basically runs through some of the winners and the losers from the latest core update. So, for example, if you look at reddit.com, you will see that the traffic is going absolutely to the moon. If you want all the latest news on the updates and who's performing well after the core update and who's not and what we can expect, etc., feel free to check out my video from earlier today. But yeah, if we wait for Ahrefs to load right there, you can see that Ahrefs traffic is going up like crazy for Reddit. So they were at 357 million last month. Now they're at 369 million. And we were looking at some other ones as well. I think it was Gadget Gates. Let's have a look. Gadgetmates.com. They're performing really well after the core update. So you can see previously 327,000 traffic, now up to 790,000 traffic. I don't know why my old screen went off there. That's weird. Hopefully you can hear me. If not, let me know in the comments. So we're going to keep going through it now. There we go. That is so weird. Anyway, so the next one, AI content will continue to rank, but it will be marked and labeled as AI content. This is quite an interesting one. So from what I've seen so far, if you've been keeping up with it or not, the EU released a new act called the AI Act, right? And basically what they're saying, in fact, we'll pull up this article by technologyreview.com, which would be interesting to see some of the updates and what's going to change, etc. But this is going to be really interesting. I've seen some upload settings change on YouTube as well because there's more and more video generated content with AI. So it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, a lot of AI companies and AI websites will have to be more transparent. Oh, it's a crazy amount of pop-ups popping up over here. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure. And I think a lot will change in terms of, how websites will present whether they're using AI content or not. Eli says it's going all right. Good to know. And we've got 70, wow, we've got 80 people watching live on the call. That's pretty crazy. All right. If you have questions, feel free to post any comments. And yeah, let's keep going through it. So, what will happen to LinkedIn and Medium articles? So, this is an interesting one. I think Google's going to release something big to target websites like LinkedIn. I don't know about Reddit, but I can imagine Quora as well might get hit because the content doesn't tend to be that good. What we can see from this core update that Google have announced, let's find it now, the spam update guidelines. Here we go, new updates March 2024. So what you'll see inside there, if we scroll down, is that they're targeting three different things. Now, I've talked a little bit about scaled content already, so we won't go on to that. But let's talk about site reputation abuse. Basically, they're targeting parasite SEO, right? And so Google are trying to clamp down on it, which means that LinkedIn and Medium articles potentially might not rank as well. Now, the thing is, they've actually published this policy targeting site reputation abuse 2 months ahead of the enforcement, right? So these rules will get enforced on May the 5th, but actually the announcement was made on March the 5th. So they've given sort of 2 months to go ahead with it. By the way, if you're watching this, please smash a like on it. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them as we go along, and I'll be happy to pull up your answer and or your question and happy to help you with that. Someone else said, Julian, I don't think it was fair that they gave us a manual penalty. Our content was not scaled into the thousands. The content was very helpful with hundreds of comments. This is quite an interesting one as well. For example, if you saw Jackie Chow's tweet yesterday about getting his website reinstated after the manual penalty, which you'll see right here. So, for example, Jackie Chow, he had a few of his websites de-indexed. One of them got reinstated. I'm actually doing a meetup with Jackie Chow in Vietnam next month. But essentially, he got a manual action penalty, and you can see that it was actually reconfirmed. Now, if you look at what was sent in the reconsideration request, you'll see that all it says is, please revoke this manual action. It is not my site. Now, coming back to that comment where you said, I don't think it's fair, it's interesting to see that actually Jackie's sites inside Google Search Console got hit, even if they weren't their own. So sometimes it's not that fair. It's not that fair, but I won't get too much into that. Gian is with us as well. Shout out to Gian. And Wackalace says, what do you think about these people on Fiverr who offer backs? I think you mean backlinks. If that's the case, honestly, most of the backlinks on Fiverr.com are going to be pretty trash, right? Because everyone has access to them. And typically what you'll find is that you'll be able to buy like 5,000 or 10,000 backlinks on Fiverr.com. Let me pull up an example. But most of those backlinks are not going to be very powerful. So let me just open this up and I'll show you an example. If we wait for Fiverr to load, and we'll type in something like backlinks. Let's switch to selling right here. Switch to buying. We're going to type in backlinks and see what we can buy. Now, typically what you're going to find on sites like this is that most of the backlinks are pretty low quality, right? So if you're paying like £40 for a bunch of backlinks, typically they're not going to be very good quality, right? Or 5,500 contextual links. How good are those links going to be for £16? That's the only thing. Now, I haven't tried them, so feel free to test them out and see what you think and let me know how it goes. But personally, I think that if you can buy backlinks for cheap, those backlinks are not going to be quality. I mean, for example, if you want a backlink on like, I don't know, Forbes.com or entrepreneur.com, typically you can spend like $2,000. So it's pretty crazy when it comes to that. Got another question, which is launching and submitting new sites missed of Google Core update. Good idea. That is a very interesting one. I think, honestly, if it's a new site, you don't need to worry about Google Core updates because quite often they're based on like long-term classifiers, right? So there might be a core update rolled out where it actually impacts your site after like 6 months of data and 6 months of analytics. And therefore, if you've got a brand new site, I think launching it during the Google Core update is totally fine. Like, it's not going to be a big issue. So yeah, I think you can go ahead with that. Jaden says, yes, Julian, great to have you here. Jaden, shout out to Jaden, long-term watcher on the channel. Appreciate you watching. And Matthew says, I've noticed SERPs dipping. So this is an interesting one. I'm going to pull up an example of where you can see sites dipping. So let me find an example right here. And I'm going to pull up two different tools that you can actually use for checking dips in the SERPs, right? So let me just present my screen right here. And we'll pull this up. All right, so one of the best places you can actually check for SERP volatility if you see dips or if you're worried about dips is actually checking the SEMrush sensor, right? So obviously you can check your own Google Search Console, but you can also compare that versus everything else, right? And if you see that your Google Search Console is something like this, where it's very, very volatile, then you know something crazy is happening, right? And so during these updates, typically what you'll see is that the volatility, so the dips in SERPs, are going to be up and down like crazy. The other thing that you can do is I'm going to try and find it now. Citrix tool, Google Core update, winners, maybe something like that. Let's see if we can find it right here. Yeah, so Cistrix have actually done a report on and that's for March 2024. We don't want that. There we go. This is one that we want. Yeah, so they've done a report on Cistrix.com where you can look at the winners and the losers from the update, and you can see it by chronological order. So that's the 15th of March. Then if you scroll down, you can see March the 12th, etc. And you can see who's taken the biggest hit and who's taken the biggest increase, right? So food.com, massive increase right there. If you look at some drops, you can see some of these sites have dropped 100% after the update, like Atify app. Now, this is really interesting, right? I don't know if you've ever seen Atify app. But yeah, A2I app, basically what they do is they transcribe websites, videos into transcriptions, right? And then they post a blog on the website. Now, what's quite interesting about this website is that since the Google Core update, they've taken a massive hit. Now, I think that's because a lot of the content was generated at scale. And that's essentially what Google are trying to stamp out in their latest Google Core update guidelines. And probably what they've seen is not only is the content quality not that great because it's just a video transcription automated from other videos posted on the web, but additionally, you can see the traffic has gone down from 1 million a month down to 500K down there. But yeah, basically, you can see that this site, with its scaled content approach, has taken a massive, its traffic has been smashed to smithereens, as you would say. It's gone down 50%, maybe decreasing even more. And so these sort of scaled content websites that are publicly getting millions of traffic tend to get manually reviewed at some point and then take a big sort of hit. MV Media says, good to see you, my man. I've seen some e-coms and mostly local sites slammed with latest update. However, my site is actually doing better than ever. It says a lot about brand identity and good backlinking. Yeah, if you want to see a really interesting, number one, really happy for you there. Good to hear that your website is doing well during the core updates. Good on you. If you actually see my Twitter post recently, I posted a low DR site that was ranking really well, right? This is cakesbymk.com. Now, the interesting thing about cakesbymk.com is that they're a very low authority site in terms of DR. So, in terms of domain rating and authority, this website only has a DR 12, which is pretty low. But you can see their traffic has grown to 221,000. And I'll tell you why that's important in a minute. But the interesting thing here to note is like low DR performing extremely well. So, even if you have a niche site, even though things might seem against you sometimes, you can perform really well. Now, the interesting thing about this website is that they have a ton of subscribers on YouTube, right? And they're an actual brand. So when you talk about, brand identity, good link building, etc., I think this is a really good example of that because 400K subscribers on YouTube, high quality content that's handwritten, EAT signals, absolutely deserves to rank, even if it's low DR. And so I think the message right there is if you're publishing high quality content and you've got a good EAT background, then your site can perform really well. Matthew says, yeah, SEMrush is nice, but be expensive. This is completely free. I don't have a premium subscription to SEMrush. So you can use this for free, the volatility sensor. And yeah, anyone can access it. Balak says, have you worked on caching on Google Web Stories? What's the future of it in your opinion? I actually don't play with Google Stories at all, or Google Web Stories. So that's an interesting one. I don't know. It's a totally different algorithm. So I just focus on organic right now. Jaden says, cheers, bro. I'm glad I saw you. Interesting data. I'll check that out after the show. Thanks for watching. And Mateo says, most of my content is created with AI example, right? So Neuron Writer, Agility Writer, Humanized AI. So when I check on Google, it says I have human writing content. My question is, will I be affected? So this is an interesting one, right? What I want to show you here is Google search guidance about AI generated content. So if you check this out, these are the guidelines that were published last year in terms of how you can generate content. Now, one of the things they say is that they reward high quality content however it is produced, right? So even if you do have AI content, it doesn't matter, right? They've said that it's totally fine. However, I don't think that's a free pass to just like spam loads of content out there and create loads of content that's pretty trash. And it's the same with human content, right? If you're producing trashy human content, it's not going to rank. But if you're creating high quality content, for example, like if you look at some of the recent workflows that I've shown previously, so for example, like where is it now? This workflow right here on how to rank with Perplexity and Claude, and also these workflows with Steve Toff as well on how to create AI content. You'll notice in those videos that it's mostly about using AI, but in a way that improves the quality of the content. Now, whenever you're using AI content, you want to think, right, how can I make this better than AI can actually produce, right? How can I add some extra value into that? Now, one of the interesting things you can actually do is you can actually take your content into ChatGPT and you can say, right, how can I improve my content and make it better? And to show you an example of that, let me take some examples. I'm gonna take a transcript from one of my recent videos right here. Let me just open one of those up. Wait for Descript to load. But I'm going to show you exactly how you can take your content to another level without even having to worry about, okay, is it AI generated or not? And this is not about automating content and all that sort of thing. It's about identifying new ways to add more value to your content. So if I take this transcript, for example, from the video with Ferry Cazzoni, where we talk about link building, I can take this content and say, how can I add extra value to my content based on the below transcript? Give me some actionable improvements. And what ChatGPT should do from here, you never know because it's alive, but what ChatGPT should do from here is give us some ideas on how we can improve our content beyond what we're already doing, right? So how can we add more value? And that comes down to this process of rewarding high quality content, however it's produced. And so if you can add more elements of expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trust to your content, for example, getting more backlinks, improving the quality of it, making it different, adding some first person experience, etc., into your content, and that goes a long way. So let's open up ChatGPT now and we'll see what it's come back with. And so you can see that it's given us some ideas of how we can improve our content. So if we turn this into a blog post, potentially we could add some infographics and visual summaries. We could add some checklists and templates. We could insert some videos or podcast snippets, etc. There are all these different ways that we can insert better quality content and take our content to another level by leveraging AI and asking it to give us some ideas. So that's some ways that you can actually improve. That is a crazy username that I can't pronounce right now. But basically, they're asking, bought a expired domain 5 months ago. I'm working on it. Google not ranking my site. I post the SEO optimized zero quality. Any tool to check if Google shadow banned my domain or something like that in the past. So one of the best ways is just to see if your content is indexing. And if it's an expired domain, check that it's indexed on Google. If it's indexed on Google and it's still not getting any impressions or any views, even though you're targeting the right keywords, etc., then that's a warning sign for sure. Jaden says that DR12 is crushing it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy right there. Copy Samurai, welcome to the call. Says, what's up, Matt? You didn't come too late. Don't worry about that. And Balak Zone says, best free AI detectors. What do you think about AI generated images for use in blog posts featured? All right, 2 questions right there. So number 1, best free AI detectors. For me, typically, why I don't use any free AI detectors. I just use Originality. I think Originality probably is the best one. I actually really like their research. If you haven't checked out Originality's resources on their blog, really good, very interesting stuff right there. Would recommend checking it out. And when it comes to AI generated images for use in blog posts featured, this is a tricky one. I think that you can use AI generated images, but use them sparingly and don't automate them on mass scale, right? So try and make sure that your images that you create are relevant to the content that you're creating. Now, if you actually check out someone like Corey Tugberg and you look at his image guidelines, it's insane how much depth he actually adds to creating images. And so you just have to think about that one, really, is how can you create the most contextually relevant images? And what most people are doing is they're just blasting out AI images without really making sure they're very interesting and in depth and add more value. One of the best ways that I like to test that is I'll create YouTube thumbnails using AI and just check the click-through rate. If the click-through rate is good, then I know it's a good generated image because people click on it and they find it interesting. Social Media Tip says, are you having any problems with Core Web Vitals, especially the new IMP? I'm actually not having any issues. I don't know whether that's down to having NitroPack installed. So I have NitroPack installed as a plugin to the website. But yeah, so far, no issues at all. By the way, if you're watching this, feel free to smash a like on it. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already to the YouTube channel. We post content every single day on SEO. Matthew says, strange though, one of my sites is fully indexed. hasn't lost any pages, but all but one page has been removed from Google search results. Traffic is down 90%. All right, so basically all your pages have been de-indexed from Google and traffic is down 90%. That is not a good sign, but also you got to look at all the numbers, right? By the way, if anyone's struggling with the core update, feel free to book in a SEO strategy session. Links in the comments and description. But and we can talk through your website. But one of the main things you want to check is like, right, what are all the numbers, right? So if you're only getting like 1,000 traffic a month and then you lose 90%, it's not that crazy. But if someone has 1 million traffic a month and then the traffic goes down 90%, that's when you want to start looking at everything. So yeah, just have a look into that. CTR, everything else above 100. Yeah, I don't see any issues there, but it's hard to look at it without all the numbers. If you want me to check in detail, I can actually check out my SEO mastermind. So links in the comments and description. Otherwise, just feel free to book in an SEO strategy session and we'll answer any questions you have live on the call. Social media tips. What do you think about revisiting old content on a blog with 100 to 200 posts and refreshing them? Do you think it will help? This is a really good question. So a lot of things that I've seen so far, and I'm going to pull this up in a little document right now. Let me show you a couple of ways that you can do this, right? So if you go back to, where is it? Gadget Mates we were looking at previously. So let's say you're the Gadget Mates website and you want to refresh your old content. Maybe you got 100 or 200 blocks. One of the best ways to do this is you can go to your keywords over here right now, and then you can actually compare versus the previous week. So you can see, okay, how's my traffic changed? And then you can actually repair the pages that have lost the biggest amount of traffic, right? So if we sort on Ahrefs by change percentage, you can see that this particular page has lost 31,000 traffic. Now, in terms of repairing pages, you've got like 50 different pages that you could repair right there. But you don't need to repair all of them. You just focus on the highest leverage ones that would have the biggest impact if you got their rankings back, right? So you can start with this one, move down, move down, move down, and that's basically the 80-20 of your traffic. And then if you go down the rest of the pages, you can improve them over time, but you would focus on like the top 5 or top 10 for now because you have a limited amount of resources and time. The other thing that you can do is something called content pruning. This is what I hear a lot of people talk about. And this basically refreshes your website in a way where you look at all your pages and you identify, let me zoom in right there for you. You identify which ones get 0 traffic. From there, you actually de-index the pages with 0 traffic. And then you have a blog where all pages actually get traffic, right? And it kind of prunes the whole of your website so that when Google crawls it and it sees that all of your pages are actually getting traffic, it looks a lot more helpful in terms of your overall content. And all your content is graded well because it's already ranking pretty well. So those are 2 different ways to do it. You can look at previous keywords that have dropped and taken a big drop in traffic, or you can prune your content, look at your website, identify which pages get no traffic, de-index those pages, and then you have a blog where all the content is getting traffic and you just make sure every page ranks from there. And just having a look through the questions right here. Eli says, any updates regarding Google search generative experience? So I've not seen it like announced to be rolled out just yet. So I've not seen any plans on that. If you look, for example, I don't know, what is the Google Core Update 2024? You'll see that it actually generates an update right here. And it's pulling in pretty recent data now, right? So you can see inside this generated response right here, it's pulling in information from that was just released like 2 weeks ago, right? And so what's interesting about this is that Google Search Generative Experience is actually kind of updated in real time now, it seems like. Whether it's pulling that in from other articles, I'm not sure. But as you can see as well, if you look at Google and Search Generative Experience, basically these are, I honestly think you can only see 2 main pages right there. You can see Search Engine Journal a little bit, but it's pretty much cut off. And it's mainly these 2 results that are going to get traffic, right? if things stay as they are. And so what it looks like to me is you have to rank top 2 or nothing when it comes to SEO. And if you don't rank, if you're ranking like down here, 99% of people are never going to go all the way down here, past the people also ask questions, and then finally click something. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's super interesting to see that actually it's probably going to be just the top 2 results that actually get traffic. The other thing I saw is there's a new head of search for Google. So I'm just going to open this up right here. I saw it announced on Twitter. So Liz Reed has been announced as the new head of search at Google. And I think that was, from what I read, based on search generative experience. Now, I actually just seen this update from Marie Haynes, which is pretty interesting. So Google search will almost certainly look more like search generative experience over time. It will increasingly trade links for answers. That is very, very interesting. I'm not seeing this link, but let's check it out. So this is from theverge.com. And you can see how Liz Reed, new head of search at Google, has basically, let's have a look. Let's see what has been leading the company on AI search and search generative experience. So it's interesting that they recruited someone who was working on SGE previously. So yeah, I can imagine that's probably going to roll out more and more, right? Like that's the SGE is going to take over the SERPs, and that's going to become more common. And I think if you want to rank top of search generative experience, then it's probably all going to be about brand and backlinks and making sure that you have a very high DR. I don't think you're going to find low DR sites ranking. So Copy Samurai says, heading into work, brother. Have an excellent day. You too. I'll check out the rest of the live. Well, thanks so much for watching. And Alexander says, if I have content on middle of the page that gives the answers to the blog question, is it okay if I add an FAQ at the bottom of the page with that same answer inside? So for me, typically with FAQs, you want to keep them pretty short because they're really for the featured snippet on Google, right? So when you're answering a question on your blog post, you want to keep the FAQ very short, like 50 words. And then when it actually comes to giving the answer, try and make sure that every piece of content on your page is unique, right? So you wouldn't copy and paste the content from like the middle of your content down to the FAQ because it's kind of like you're duplicating the content on the same page, which isn't very helpful to the user. And additionally, when it comes to having content, like if you have it on the middle of the page, ideally you want to give the answer and the most value at the top of the page because that's the most relevant. That's going to help the user, and then they'll scroll down if they need more information. So as Luke says, do you think refreshing the posts and optimizing them helps for topical authority? I'm not sure about topical. I mean, yeah, I would say so in a way because you're improving your content, right? Which builds more authority on your website. So, for example, there's a difference between topical relevance, aka publishing a lot of content about one particular topic, and topical authority, where you're actually ranking for those particular keywords. And so, if you refresh your content so that you're ranking for those keywords and you're actually getting more traffic to your site, then therefore your topical authority is going up. And you've not just got topical relevance where you're creating a lot of content but it's not ranking, you're actually building up topical authority where you're actually getting traffic to your site as well. Let's have a look at this one. Regarding that expired domain comment, all posts are indexed in Search Console. I can find some impressions where positions are 15 to 20. Well, that seems promising, but it sounds like, if it's a recent expired domain, it might just take a longer time to actually get ranking. But give it time. It depends how long it's been as well. So if it's like been 1 month or 2 months, then, it might take a longer time to actually index and start ranking that content. Isaac says, do you think AI content is safe to local service sites? So I think, number one, you have to use AI at your own risk, right? It's an experimental technology that most people haven't played with. And so I think it's usable for sure, but you definitely need like some sort of manual editing process along the way. And I'm going to show you my manual editing process right now in case you want to learn how to create AI content in the right way. Right? And this basically differentiates your content from everyone else's. So if I share my screen right now, what I've actually got is this SEO content checklist. So you can see a bunch of people using it right now. And this is a way of manually editing and quality controlling your content so that if you do use AI, you make sure that it's helpful and you make sure that the quality is much higher than your average sort of copy and paste article, right? And this is the process that I recommend now when it comes to creating content, because you can manually edit and quality control your content, and that reduces the risks of AI. However, AI still has risks, right? So, for example, from creating the keyword to creating an outline to checking out the search intent, running it through Grammarly, formatting it nicely, adding some pictures, formatting the text, etc. Keyword optimization, fact checking is pretty important, adding relevant internal and external links, and also EAT signals, right? So, like, is it easy to understand who wrote the content? Is the author a real person? And when people land on the site, etc., it's easy to contact them. And also, like, just adding some first-hand experience in there too. I'm actually going to add that in right now. So, for example, if you're, I don't know, talking about being a public speaker, then you would add pictures of you actually public speaking on stage, that sort of thing. D. Cooper says, won't they do what MS did and start using the sidebar again? I'm not sure. I don't know about Microsoft and what they did there when it comes to Bing chat, but let's have a look. So if we go on to Bing, we'll take a look and we'll see what's popping. So, I don't know, let's put something like March core update, something like that, right? And so this is Bing search. And then is that Copilot right there? Yeah, so this is very different to search generative experience. So, for example, in the organic listings right here, I actually can't see any ads at all. And then inside the organic listings, it's basically like there's loads of links to different sites. It's pretty amazing compared to Google, right? Whereas if you go on Copilot right now, it's all AI, right? So you don't really get any links to other websites. Now, if you compare that side by side, and we'll put March core update into Google, and we'll generate the AI response for it, you can see that there's actually only 2 placements that you would actually click. And so I think this is going to look very different to Microsoft. Microsoft is kind of still encouraging clicks to other websites. Google seems to be just encouraging clicks to 2 different websites right there. But again, it's early days and nothing's been completely set up right there. D. Cooper says, for SG, I mean, so maybe not only the top 2 results. Let's see. I mean, from what I can see, it seems like you'd only click on those 2. You might click on that one, but you can't really read it properly. And you can't actually scroll to any other sites, right? So it's just like those 3. Matthew says, I wonder how Google plans to pay the website owners if it scrapes its content from SG search results. Not sure. I haven't heard anything about paying website owners, so I'm not sure what their plan is right there, and they haven't announced anything either. So let's see. They could do some sort of revenue sharing, but I think anything like that would be hoping. I've not seen Google talk about that or say they're going to release that or anything like that. Eli says, so the SG will replace somehow the featured snippet more or less. Yeah, pretty much. But I think as well, it's going to appear on pretty much everything, right? So it's not just a featured snippet for, say, can cats eat bananas? It's like, even if you want to learn about, like, say, the March core update right here, it's going to replace whatever comes up right here. And most people are just not going to click all the way down. So I think it's going to take away a lot of traffic right here. Tony says, hey, Julian, big ups. Lost my momentum, was getting 20 to 40 clicks a day and about 3,000 to 5,000 impressions a day, getting 1 to 10 clicks a day. Nothing has been did. Sounds like you got hit pretty bad there, and hopefully you get traffic back. Bear in mind, it's early days, right? So the update was only released 2 weeks ago. And so things can recover, things can reverse, but I would just see how it goes. Yeah, Matthew says, feature snippets have been controversial alone. But it's going to be, it's feature snippets on steroids, basically, from what I can see. And it's AI generated as well. The other thing here is like, if people do want to learn more information, they might not scroll all the way down. They would just click on one of these questions, right? So like, when was the last update? What are Google core updates, etc. And then it generates even more AI responses to the point where you wouldn't click on any of the websites. You would just get the answers inside Google. Now, I think that's quite smart by Google, but it's quite brutal for the website owner, right? So for Google, it's smart because they can generate more money and more revenue on the page if people stay there and click on the ads, etc. They can serve more ads on the page if we stay there longer on Google. And so I can see that might be their plan, but let's see. Liverpool Airport, shout out to Liverpool Airport taxis. Never got them, but I've been to Liverpool many a time. Good night out there. Another quick question. Got 4 pages on Rank Math and Google Search Console, shows are indexed and live, but they don't show up anywhere on Google. The only way I can find them is when I type site : Sounds like you need to do a bit more re-optimization on your website, right? So what I'd recommend checking out, I think this is still live on Google. Let's have a look. Yeah, what I'd recommend checking out is my SEO checklist on YouTube. And this guides you through step by step exactly all the checks you can make to make sure that your content is actually ranking, right? Because it might be that your content is actually good, but it needs more backlinks. It might be that your content needs some more re-optimization on page, etc. But you can use this SEO checklist step by step to make sure that you get more traffic. Speed says, give the link of this doc. If you want to get the SEO checklist, feel free to check it out. Links in the comments and description for the free SEO course, and you can get it inside there in the SEO checklist section. Another quick question, 4 pages on, okay, we already answered that. Astralis says, how did you get Google search to use the generative AI? So I already signed up to Google Labs, which gives me access to generative AI. So if you haven't already, check out Google Labs and you can get access to search generative experience right there. So just going to type that in and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So you can get access to it using this page right here. If you just type it in like get AI powered overviews, etc., then you can get it in Google right there. And then you just register for experiments in Search Labs, and then you can get access to it. And then when you're on Google, if you want to get like the AI generated answer, etc., let's go back and put like, I don't know, March core update. We can click generate and it will generate the AI answer right there. But again, it's early days. It's still in beta from what I've seen. It's not been officially launched. So I think they're still testing it and that sort of thing. What are the right steps for a startup niche to grow up fast and correctly? So really you want to focus. I mean, I've got a mastermind that talks you through this, and I'll quickly guide you through how I recommend sites normally set up. So I'm going to open up the classroom right here and I'll talk you through the SEO mastermind, and we'll open up each of these sections, right? So if you're a startup, first place you want to start with SEO is your keywords, right? So you want to plan out, okay, what pages do I need to create content around to rank for in Google, right? So for example, if you're a yoga website, you might find a bunch of keywords around yoga and then go from there. And then from there, you want to create the content, right? So you want to optimize it in the right way, like I'm talking about in the SEO content quality checklist right here. And then from there, you would focus on link building. And so once you've done the keywords, the content, and the link building for your startup website, then you would start looking at hiring, and also you would start looking at conversion rate optimization, right? Because it really doesn't matter how much traffic you get, it's how much money you make from that traffic. And so you want to get good at converting the traffic you do get into money. That's the whole goal. That's the whole point of this whole process. And so with this 6-step roadmap, which talks about human content, in fact, it actually recommends human content inside the roadmap, the mastermind. But step by step, you can learn exactly how to do each of these tools. Now, if you don't want to sign up to the mastermind, it's okay. You can actually just check out my videos on YouTube. For example, you can type in like keywords Julian Goldie or content Julian Goldie, and it will show you how to do each step of that as well. But that's basically the steps, right? So keywords, content, link building, hiring, conversion rate optimization, and then self-improvement systems. Matthew says, fact ISO is going to have a large negative economic impact on local independent businesses. So it's the ethical thing to do. Yeah, I mean, if they share revenue with the creators, that I think that would be great for creators. Like that'd be really good for website owners. I don't know if it's going to happen. I've not seen any announcements, and it's still early days, right? Because it's in beta. Andre says, do you know anything about dietary supplements affiliate? Because I think links doesn't work for review articles. They do build authority, so better to link homepage. If I link each supplement, it won't work. So for me, I don't really, we have link building clients in the health niche, but for me, I don't really create content in the YMYL niche. And I think it's a totally different game. Like you got to be quite careful in terms of the content you create, who writes it, the advice that you give, etc. And so I would just be very careful. Like for me, typically, I'm not going to use AI content for YMYL niches, but that's up to you and your processes, and you just have to be quite risk averse there. Nimra says, what's your thinking on blogging future after the core update? I think blogging absolutely has a future. And I think, like, for example, that website that I mentioned earlier, the cakes one, where is it? MK Cake? I can't find it on Ahrefs now. This one, cakesbymk.com. This is just a really good example of how bloggers can make it, right? So, for example, DR12, not many backlinks, but it's got a high amount of traffic and it's got a lot of EEAT, right? And if you go onto YouTube, from what I've been told, I'm going to just try and find them right here. They also have a YouTube channel with 445,000 subscribers. So shout out to them. They've done an amazing job. And I think that's the future, right? It's brand building. Now, if you want to see a video on how I diversify my traffic and build my brand across every single channel, you can, and how I get traffic from, say, LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube, etc., I can absolutely do that in the future. But basically, I think the whole process is really about making sure that you do build a brand and that you get traffic from every channel, not just from your website. So blogging absolutely has a future, but it's got to be supplemented with brand building across each channel. Javier says, where are you based, mate? Cannot see generative AI in the UK. So I'm based remotely, so I'm not in the UK. That's probably why. Iron Genetics says, what do you do to get your main business website getting indexed again? Can't still see. Yeah, so at the minute, it's got indexed again, but it's going to take a while to have the manual action lifted. So let's see. It depends how long it takes Google to get back to me and whether they, take the penalty off or not. And Musa says, bro, are link exchanges black hat SEO technique? I would say be very careful with link exchanges, right? So typically, if you're doing link exchanges, there can be a footprint across the web, right? And I don't think it's beyond Google to figure out how they can penalize that algorithmically. So I think you do have to be very careful with link exchanges. They can work in moderation, and if it's super relevant from very relevant and high quality websites, but just be careful with that process. Serenity says, so in short, Google is punishing sites that have AI content to replace them with their own AI. What a way to force the authority. So I think whether you're using AI or not, like, you can still succeed, like I was showing with the Cakes by MK website. So I think you have to stay positive and focus on that. Okay, what's the potential there? And you can't let yourself get too down. Now, what I would say is that a lot of people are going to quit SEO. I think a lot of people will quit SEO probably in the next 6 to 12 months, which is going to leave a lot of opportunities, right? So if the sentiment around SEO is pessimistic or negative, that's a good opportunity for you to fill the gaps where most people quit. And if you can adapt and learn quickly, like I'm talking about with the brand building and the EAT signals and building out a YouTube channel or different channels that generate traffic aside from SEO, then you've got a huge opportunity ahead of you. I mean, it's never been easier to get traffic versus the old days. Axiet says, do you create custom author pages or just author boxes? So for me, I create both. So I create author pages and author boxes. I think it's really good to just have both and cover both bases. Nimra says, after how many articles we have to submit a website to Search Console? So you can submit a website to Search Console anytime, right? It doesn't have to be right now, right? It doesn't have to be in 6 months or 12 months. Like, from the day you set up the website, even if it doesn't have any content, you can still submit it to Search Console. Never too early, never too late. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please subscribe and smash a like if you do enjoy it. And if you want a free SEO strategy session, maybe you're worried about your website, you want to get more traffic, feel free to check that out. Links in the comments and description. D. Cooper says, random question, what service could you recommend for Linktree service? Koji was just purchased by them, but I just don't like Linktree offerings. So what I would do, here's a little hack for you, right? If you want to save a bit of money, you can actually go onto this website and you can get some really good deals, right? So if you go into AppSumo and you type something, for example, like Linktree, instead of paying for Linktree, you can get access to very similar tools, right? So for example, like LeapPal or Linky, that sort of thing. These are all like very similar tools to Linktree. And in fact, if you look down at the at a glance section on appsumo.com, you'll see that it's an alternative to the Linktree and then just look through all the tools, see which one you like and which one appeals to you the most, and then just check it out. And you'll see that you get like a one-time purchase. So for example, let's say you use a tool for like 10 years, you get it for $49 as long as it's still around, and it just works out super cheap. You save a lot of time and you still get exactly what you want. Now, what I would also do is recommend you check out the reviews as well, but that's a way to save like thousands of dollars on software. I do it all the time. And the cool thing is as well, they usually have 90-day guarantees. So you can get back the money, no questions asked, just by following this process. I'm just reading Charles. I've got to pull up this comment right now. Charles just posted an amazing one here. I'm going to be on Charles' channel soon on an interview. Charles said, personally, I think Google targeted you because you flexed a new hairline on them way too hard. John got jealous. That's the thing. I mean, look, check out that hairline, right? I've got the best hairline in SEO these days. So it all makes sense now, actually. I need to do a video on that. And it must have been, that's what it is. Don't flex your hairline too much. Don't show off. Stay humble. Keep your hairline humble and everything will be good. So let's keep going now. Great shout by Charles, by the way. So, Julian, are there tools to test your content to compare on the web? Yeah. So what you can actually do is you can use a tool like, for example, Zim Writer. Zim Writer is very powerful. Phrase is another good one. SERP SEO is another good one. And you can take your content and analyze it versus the rest of the web. In fact, versus what's already ranking on Google, and then see, okay, what the difference is. How can I improve my content, etc. But I also think that there's a side of this to be said for making sure that you manually check your content as well, right? So quite often these tools are good and they'll catch a lot of things you didn't see, but also they're going to miss a lot of things that you see and they don't. And so just having a good set of human eyes over the top of it makes a big difference. And by the way, if you're enjoying this, please smash a like on the video. All right. Nimra says, recently 2 months ago, my website articles were indexing very quickly within 2 to 3 hours, but I'm not showing in the search results when I search for all in title or keyword. My homepage appears, but not the exact. Quite an interesting one there. So I don't know whether, so if you're searching on Google for your keyword and you're not ranking, I would recommend checking out the SEO checklist. If you're searching like site colon and then your keyword and you're still not there on Google, sometimes what's actually indexed on Google is not what you can see on Google itself, right? So there's a bit of a difference. Sometimes they actually came out and said like site colon doesn't work all the time. The other thing that I would say is sometimes your content gets de-indexed later, right? So for example, your content might have been indexed previously and ranking within like 2 to 3 hours, but then it's dropped or being de-indexed along the way. So sometimes it's one of those. Jokes says, should we quit blogging or wait after this update? Honestly, I mean, I know a lot of people are not publishing content. You can wait and see what happens, but I think that just being consistent helps you with the habits in your business, right? So for me, for example, I was still publishing YouTube videos even after what happened, and I just kept it going. And I think you have to keep going even when things are quite turbulent. M. Musa says, I've published 24 articles and get 150 clicks. Is it low? So let's do the maths on that. 150 divided by 24. That's 6.25 clicks per page on average. So typically what you're going to find on your website, right, is the most of your traffic is actually just going to go to 1 or 2 pages, right? So I would say the 80-20 rule applies to websites when it comes to traffic, and maybe 20% of your pages get 80% of your traffic. So I wouldn't say it's low, but I would look for opportunities to improve your content, improve your rankings, and improve your traffic, etc. Anti-God says AppSumo is 60 days. Okay, thank you very much for letting me know. And B-Shao says almost 300 pages were de-indexed and most of content were AI generated. Should I rewrite all the pages again or should I wait for the rollout to be finished? I would wait for the rollout to finish because it's going to be very volatile right now. And also, if you try and make some quick fixes to your website, typically you're not going to see the results of those for a few months afterwards, right? It's not going to come overnight. So just wait for the update to roll out and don't do anything crazy just yet. And Shijon says, hey, Julian, did you find any steps to rank the de-indexed websites? I think I mean, if it depends how you got hit, right? So if you got hit algorithmically, probably you got no chance. If you got hit with a manual action penalty, you've probably got more of a chance of ranking those sites again. But for me, I'm not too fussed about those websites because they didn't really make much of a difference in terms of my overall business revenue. I'll be honest with you. And so for me, I've got a lot of sites in the background that are doing totally fine. And additionally, there's just one website that I'm trying to get the manual action penalty removed from. So everything else is good. Rohit says my articles aren't indexing anymore. Oh, well, hopefully you get those rankings back. And Kailash says, hey, Julian, my articles haven't been de-indexed, but Google has de-ranked them. Can I expect them to come back in ranking after this update is over? So I wouldn't expect them to come back ranking after the update is over, but I would say just wait, give it time, and see how it goes from there. And Roy says, are you also going to remove your Medium articles like the LinkedIn ones? I think I have pretty much removed all of the articles from LinkedIn and Medium that I published over the last sort of 6 months or so. So, yeah. And Ingildo says, or JN Gildo says, I saw my friend website. They acquired more backlinks to publish more content, but ranking continuously dropped since 2023. What do you think about this? I would go back to the SEO checklist because there's so many different optimizations that I can't really gather from that YouTube comment. And so, yeah, just go back, look at the SEO checklist, analyze your website step by step, and just see from there. Van Hong says, number one, I think Van Hong said hello in Vietnam. So, hello, going there next month. Looking forward to it. And Van says, Vietnamese not updated yet. I think traffic from our website is still okay. That's good to hear. And Ollie says, I'm in Manchester based. Would you be up for meeting and discussing some work for my website? So if you want to discuss work for your website, feel free to book in an SEO strategy session. Link is in the description. If not, I hope I can meet you at one of the events that I'm speaking at. So I'm speaking in the Philippines SEO movement this year, speaking at Vietnam SEO mastery. I'm also speaking at the SEO Reborn Summit, which is happening tonight, and that's completely free. Check it out if you Google SEO Reborn Summit by IMG. And additionally, speaking at Estonia SEO as well. So hope to meet you at one of those events and looking forward to it. Jane Gildo says, do you think Corey's framework is fine in this update? So I think the way that Corey builds his frameworks is like, this guy has studied like 1,900 Google patents, like the serious SEO. And so I think he's basically built systems to last anything. I think if anyone's thought about anything, it's probably this guy. Super smart guy. So Jay says, any way to check if Google shadow banned my domain or something? So I would just look at your impressions and traffic and then go from there. But it's hard. I don't necessarily think you're going to get shadow banned, but you might get algorithmically penalized. But it really depends on your situation and that sort of thing. And Little Diary says, I'm just starting to learn about SEO and preparing to create a new website. Is there any advice on how I should start? Really good question. So, I mean, I'm excited for you, number one, when it comes to starting SEO. I think this is a really interesting time because everything's so volatile and temperamental. But I actually believe that, yeah, I still stick to keywords, content, backlinks, and then hiring. Like these are the 4 steps when it comes to mapping out your roadmap. And then when you're learning SEO, just trying to consume everything that you can. For example, like YouTube videos. There's loads of good Twitter profiles. Charles Float has a really interesting Twitter profile. We'll check out his profile too. And from there, just take as much action as you can. Try to learn, try to iterate, try to test new things, and don't give up. Most people give up after like 30 days, but if you can stick to it consistently for like 6, 12, 18 months, that's when you're going to learn the most because it takes time. These updates roll out and you might do something today, but actually only has an impact in 6 months, etc. So yeah, just take lots of action, be like a sponge, go to lots of events, meet loads of cool people as well. I think having a lot of people around you who do SEO as well has helped me massively over the last few years, just because it's kind of like motivation and you find a tribe of people that you relate to, right? Ben says, have you ever checked out Zim Writer? I've never checked it out, and I'll be 100% honest with you. I have heard that it's a really good tool, but the problem is it's not available on Mac, so I haven't checked it out. Unless you install like a Windows sort of operator, but maybe one day I will check it out for sure. She Jones says, my site's keywords are still shown on SEMrush, but I can find while in the search query results page. So I think these tools, for example, like SEMrush and Ahrefs, they take a little while to update, right? So it might be the traffic is still showing on SEMrush and Ahrefs, but actually in reality, it's just lagging behind in terms of 1 or 2 weeks of content. Rodrigo says, I admire your work ethic. Julian, inspiring. Thank you very much. Like to work hard. Working hard always pays off. And yeah, I appreciate everyone who's watching. I mean, we've got 416 people live on the call right now. Absolutely insane. We've grown this YouTube channel to 77,000 subscribers, which is amazing. And that's, thanks to everyone else who's watching. So I'm just inspired by everyone who watches, and I'll keep creating content and trying to provide as much value as I can. So thanks for watching. SN says, I have a small e-commerce website, fixed all technical issues, and added a few keyword optimized content for the target pages. Also, starting with blog strategy and LB now. Anything else you would recommend? I think you're working on the right things. Honestly, if you're staying focused on keywords, content, link building, these are the right things. I would definitely look at hiring at some point, because if you really want to build a business and build an empire, then at some point you're going to have to start learning how to recruit and hire and manage people. And that's a totally different skill. It takes time, but it's one of the best skills you can ever have. The thing is, if you learn to hire and you learn how to manage and build a team and lead them, then thinking outside of this tiny little bubble that is SEO, you can do anything, right? You can build any business, any industry. And it's a very powerful skill that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. So yeah, that's it. Learn how to hire as well. Ben says, do you do this every day this time? I actually don't, but if you want more live stream calls, then feel free to check out my SEO Mastermind, because that has a more regular call structure. But yeah, I just like to do these when I have the energy and when I think I can give a lot of value. So I know, for example, during these times when there's a lot of volatility, people are asking questions and they're seeking help, right? And that's why I create these videos, so that I can help as many people as I can. So yeah. Shijon says, any side hustle tips? I would say, number one, avoid shiny object syndrome. So focus on one thing at a time. If you really want to focus on something interesting for a side hustle, I would say YouTube, right? Because obviously, if you're doing a side hustle, you don't have much time, you don't have much experience, you want to get going as soon as possible, you probably need to get an income straight away, right? And so with YouTube and YouTube SEO, you can start getting views and traffic and sales from the first week. I know that from my own personal experience when I built up this YouTube channel from day one. And I know that from building my other SEO agency channel. If you check out Julian Goldie Agency, which grew to like already 1,000 subscribers after maybe 30 days of videos, 40 days of videos, etc. And so, yeah, YouTube SEO, focus on that. Do a video every single day. Figure out how you're going to monetize it and go from there. I'm excited for you. Mark says, Julian, how you doing, mate? What do you think of using Mistral 7B in structure? I really like Mistral. I'm not sure which model I used. I just used the free version, whether that was 7A or 7B or whatever. But yeah, Mistral was really cool. Like, powerful tool. Kind of seemed like ChatGPT. UI was super clean, very fast results, very underrated. And Mark says currently using it with Perplexity API. Yeah, that's a cool thing about Perplexity. Like, you get so many different models inside there, so it's pretty cool. I haven't checked it out for for content creation, but I have checked it out for, like, for example, just doing basic SEO admin tasks. Super good for that. Jokes says, fully demotivated after this update, going into depression. Number one, really sorry to hear that. And 8-year-old site crashing, impressions also going to zero very soon. So I would say, number one, just see how it plays out. And number two, I'm really sorry to hear that. I would recommend not allowing external events like this to impact your internal state, right? That's something that I learned. And for example, for me, I tend to have an app blocker during the day so that I don't check any social media or that sort of thing, because I think that information, that constant negativity that is coming from certain parts of the SEO community can bring you down a little bit. So don't let yourself get demotivated, and just pick yourself back up and just keep learning along the way. Bear in mind, core updates still got a while to learn and to to roll out. So it's going to be a couple more weeks first. And JN Gildo says, is affiliate website still okay in this algo update? I've seen loads of affiliate sites doing really well. So yeah, that's it. And SN says, shall we still focus on optimizing for FAQ and how-to schema? Since Google was mentioned, they only show for well-known authoritative websites. Yeah, I was speaking to Steve Toth, I think, about this, and we were talking about schema. He was saying he doesn't use schema so much anymore, from what I remember, if I interpreted what he said properly. And so, yeah, for me, I don't bother so much with schema now as well. And yeah, for me personally, I don't worry about it. Jim has some very good advice, which is write out the Google dance, make changes once things settle, don't do anything drastic until the dust has settled. Very logical and rational advice. I like that. Alexander says, I had about 50 pages on position 1 to 3, all dropped. That is absolutely brutal. Don't know if you saw the vote that I had, the poll on my YouTube community, but a lot of people are saying this update was very, very brutal for them. And Ben says, ever tried Wix? No, and I'm not going to try Wix. For me, I just stick to WordPress, right? I think WordPress is great for SEO, and I like to keep it simple. And yeah, but like Ben says, I had a client just hated it. In the end, I couldn't work on it. We have some clients that come to us for our link building agency, and they have Wix, and we can work around it, but it's just not as good for SEO as WordPress, for example. WordPress is designed for SEO, so yeah. That's it. And coding, Shiksha says, can bloggers and digital influencers also be billionaire ever? I mean, if you look at the latest billionaires who are being made, right? Alex Hormozy, Kim Kardashian, even The Rock, right? These guys are influencers these guys and girls are influencers who have made billions from being influencers. So I think if you can capture attention is the most valuable currency in the world. And so if you can build an audience, and this is what I was talking about when it comes to diversifying your traffic on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, SEO, Facebook groups, etc., then if you can learn how to build an audience, capture attention, and then convert that attention into money, you're living the dream. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Really appreciate you watching. If you want to get a free SEO strategy session, feel free to click the link in the description and you can just book that straight in. If you want to get a free SEO course, if you're trying to learn SEO or that sort of thing, or if you want to give some systems to your team on like how to do keywords, how to edit content manually, how to create backlinks, etc., then check that out. Links in the comments as well for the free SEO course. Alexander says, love you, fam. Love you too. And Matthew says Elementor is way better. Yeah, I would agree. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate it as always. And I'm going to end the call there. Kent Sussex T says, would like to know your thoughts on this. If you have any more questions or that sort of thing, either feel free to post them in the comments and make sure you have subscribed so you get more value like this. And additionally, feel free to book in a free SEO strategy session if you have more questions and we can just answer them live on a call. Hopefully that'll help you. SN says, cheers, Julian. Today only followed you, so valuable. Well, welcome to the community. Great to have you here. Appreciate it. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.